Hello, welcome to the Peter of Peter, episode 39. I have an interesting thing that has arrived in the post. 2 weeks after ordering it, I have finally received my book, and it's took that long to arrive because I don't know, because it was printed in Poland. But my friend ordered my book 2 weeks ago and got it the next day. So that's hope for people out there. It's hope for you that my book will work for you and everything. So so the book can be delivered next day, but in my case 2 weeks. It just says in the back here before I show you, printed in Poland by Amazon Fulfillment. Brilliant. And then here it is, the moment of truth. I keep on mentioning it. Let's get into a comfortable seating position. Here it is. There it is. I'll put my face by it, it's not important. But an unbelievable God, Peter Newing. And then you've got the sun from the clouds shining down, and that could be God and everything like that. So that's my book. There it is. Very happy with that. The text inside looks very good, and just like it's a book. It's a book, and smells like a book, and it's all very official. I'm very happy with that. 63 pages of just complete genius, obviously. I don't know. I just read it and I'm like, I don't remember writing that, but there you go, it's written, and then people can read it, and I'll just it says on the back, Peter Newing, and it's got my face there. Doesn't quite show up very well, but there you go. There's my face. Because I'll turn the light on. Sorry about this. You see it better? There's my face. And Peter Newing. And it says, does God exist? I've spent my life considering this question. He is either the most unbelievable God that governs all life and gives us our true meaning, or he is simply unbelievable and not real. This short book explores this conundrum. So, very exciting stuff. If I get back in focus here. Tried to minimise the chair sounds. Yeah, so very, very exciting stuff. I've got a book and I can see it. It's exciting. I just want to have it on my lap, to be honest. But then I won't. But then I won't stop looking at it. I won't just read my book, because that ruins the book. If you can ruin such a thing. But there you go. Just stuck in a difficult decision this morning. I'll just put it underneath my Bible, other books. Can you read that? Does it focus? There we go. Holy Bible, yeah. I'll just put it underneath, because obviously unbelievable God, Holy Bible. Obviously, they're the two pillars of civilization going forward. Obviously, I won't be embarrassed by having a Bible. It did have a lot of dust on it for 2 years, so I should be careful with my book. Anyway, got a book. All good. Try not to make chair sounds. It's not really a professional setup here, but we're getting there. The setup isn't improving. Anyway, just I have a vision that one day, I don't know, what can I improve about the setup? Get some, professionals in, get some producers in with high quality streaming equipment, and then they can get this set up all good. You think, what's wrong with the setup? I don't know, it's just me talking. I haven't got the microphone next to my face. I've got the microphone just like hearing the room, so you can hear, people going to the toilet. You can hear me me squeaking my chair. You could hear all sorts of things. Anyway, yeah. So there's the book that obviously I've been working towards all my life. It says on the back, I've been exploring the question all my life. So it's just years of dedication, just waking up in the morning, thinking about God and whether He exists and stuff like that, and just put it in a neat little book. Yeah, I didn't just sit down and write it in a month out of thin air. That's not how it happened. It was a life of dedication. Had to go through the monastery of living as Peter. Yeah, that's what I did. So, what now? Well, yeah, I had a difficult decision this morning. I was listening to Duncan Trussell on Joe Rogan's podcast, but then Duncan Trussell has also got this Netflix program, which is basically a podcast with cartoons, which is awesome, called The Midnight Gospel. So I'm just stuck trying to figure out, what I should be focusing my attention on. If that's such a thing. It's just focusing my attention. Just like what do I watch the podcast, or do I watch? Because usually Duncan Trussell, Joe Rogan podcast is just the best. So I watch all 3 hours, no problem. But now I've got this new form of entertainment, Netflix, with this podcast on Netflix. Oh, it's just so good. But I figured stuff out. I watched half an hour of the podcast and then 20 minutes of an episode and more of the podcast, and got a nice balance. And then he said spoiler, so I skipped ahead a minute in the podcast so I wouldn't get a spoiler, and I missed that. Some people don't give you much alert with the spoiler. They just say spoiler alert, ba-dum, there's a spoiler alert. But he was like, spoiler, 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 spoiler. And I was like, quick with the index finger on the mouse cursor. And I saved the day. Everything was all sorted, and it all just worked. Yeah. Lucky, really. So there's the, watching podcasts, making podcasts. And I'm going to read my book today, so I've got a third string to my bow that I've talked about before. I've obviously got a bow, which I don't really know which part of the bow is a string. It's probably obvious, it's like the string part, but yeah, so it's just life to consider, really. I've got I could read the Bible. No. It's just typical Peter. Just don't read the Bible, don't go to church. Write a book on God. I'm qualified. I just think it's fascinating. I just started off with like a Google document and it was blank. I thought I was going to write a book, and then I did write a book, and it's published, and it's just good feeling. And Amazon makes it easy to publish a book, and at one stage the Kindle version had loads of spelling mistakes and stuff. Amazon is amazing. It's all free. I don't know how they do it, really. Just publish a book and they print it out for you. Obviously buy the paperback, but yeah, just buy it and the link in the doobly too. Obviously I'm not going to put the link in because I don't have producers to edit the description like some people do. What a life to live, eh? To not have to write your own descriptions. I just have the same description, and it says, "This is my new podcast live." And I thought, well, it's not really new anymore, but the episode's new, so just leave it there. And my surname's Newing, so obviously it all makes sense. It all combines together in a nice equilibrium. I suppose this live stream setup is just a bit of a practice. I have had to practice for it. I've had to know how computers work and understand it. Obviously, it goes simple for some people, but I've had to grow up with computers and know what HDMI is and mini HDMI and the cable that goes in between those two mediums, and it's just a fascinating concept, really. It's not the most complicated setup, but you try. You try live stream, okay? With a thumbnail and a description, and it actually working more or less. And I know you can just do it on your phone, but I can move my hands around. I can. So my dad listens to my podcast sometimes. Sometimes I tell him something, and he'll be like, "Yeah, you said that on your podcast." Peter Repeater. It's just I just forget what I say on the podcast, and I realise, and I've got something in my mind that I had this whole show, and I are really elaborate, and I say a lot on the podcast, and it's like a good episode, and it's worth watching and everything. And I've got this is the podcast in my mind, but then I realise I just say random stuff to my dad. It's like, yeah, I've heard you say that before, Peter Repeater, and it's just bizarre that I actually just talk about what I'm thinking in life. That's the podcast. That's it. I think more people should try. I think I'd be really interested if everyone I knew did a podcast, just listening to them. Even if you just like listen to 5 minutes of just every person you're interested in, and if you had like a brother, you just listen to them. You listen to your dad, and you listen to your grandparents talk about life stories, and the fact that there's so much in someone's life, and then when they die, that can get lost and doesn't get remembered. But obviously, this YouTubing situation, the podcast, the memories last forever. So, well, as far as digital stuff lasts on the internet, I don't know. But it's just like having evidence, like taking photos. It's just, I think everyone should do a podcast. Everyone's just, it's not really like a conversation or a structured podcast like other people do. It's not like that. I just like sit down and talk about what I'm thinking, whether it's about how many times I should brush my teeth a day. Obviously I'm switching between 1 and 2, as any normal person would, given a lockdown situation when you're not going to work or something. So yeah, it's just, yeah, you just talk about anything on the podcast, and it's just a good outlet. I think everyone should do it. I think you should try it, really. Obviously, I've got this ambition that I've had since I was 16 to be on YouTube, because I like watching people on YouTube. I've got that ambition, so that's sort of why I'm comfortable with talking on YouTube. But it's not that hard to overcome. Yeah. I did, maybe when I was a teenager, you're more nervous about the situation. You're more thinking about how things could affect everything, and you're just a bit apprehensive about stuff. But I think there is a little bit of a hurdle just to publish, yourself. But I think everyone should do it. I know that people can watch and everything, and it can get a little bit nerve-wracking, and it can seem a little bit daunting. Just think of more words, Peter. But yeah, it's just it's not always the best thing. People watching you and you feeling nervous, but I think everyone should do it. I just think you should just talk on YouTube, and then everyone, because you get tired of just hearing about random people's lives in America. It's like, what does that have to do with me? Like, what if I heard what my neighbour was up to, or my congregation church brothers and sisters in the Lord Jesus Christ, amen. I don't go to church. Anyway, it's just that what are people up to? Yeah. Yeah, so we're talking about podcasts. I think everyone should do it. Just try it. If you've got, just imagine if you lived a life and you had an interesting life, but in 100 years that was just lost. But imagine if you sat down once a week and talked about how everything was going, and then you had your whole life documented, and then people, artificial intelligence could go back and watch you and study what human essence is, and you could be a a representation of like human life, and you could live in the memories of the future robots. It's just in 1,000 years they could be watching it, and that's just really cool, I feel. And obviously that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, it's my life, eh? Yep. So what was Joe Rogan talking about? Craziness, eh? Just they always talk about conspiracy theories, but never go into detail. Well, they talk about conspiracy theories and they lay out the conspiracy theory, but they always say, yeah, it's not real, take it with a pinch of salt. Like, I'm speaking, this could be real, but it's definitely not real. And they're just like promoting these like random ideas, and I just think it's funny and I love them. But I've got to pay attention to that. You can't go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. I just don't think it's healthy. It's just not because you spend 95% of your brain in nonsense, and then it makes you worry about stuff. But I love Duncan Trussell's what his like talking to his wife about the comets and the theory that this coronavirus is just a preparation for a more catastrophic event. And his wife's loving it. Why she obviously can get too much of it, but then she sometimes says like, what if this is all man-made? It's funny. I want to have a wife that can talk to me about conspiracy theories. It's not so. When you're on your own, you're a bit vulnerable. You can spend days just delving into the dark web of craziness, and it's just not good for you. But if you're just talking about it with a friend, it's less impactful. But then if I have a wife, just talking about, yeah, what if this is a load of rubbish, yeah, that'd be cool. And you just want to have that, just want to have someone in life, a companion, someone to talk to. And I think I've got this weird feeling that I'll find someone, even though that technically the odds might be against my favour. I just think I'm a nice person, I'll eventually, in different walks of life, it only takes one person to be single and to like you, and just boom, 45 years of happy marriage. Obviously that's how it works. 50 years, 55 years, it continues. So yeah, so I just want someone to be happy with. I am quite happy now, with my book. And did I mention that I've got a book and published author? Like, how many ways can I say it? Yeah, I go read my book now for the third time, but first time errors in it, second time correcting the errors, third time I'm going to be a reader. And I obviously got multiple copies of the book to give to people, so I just read each one before I give them out probably. No, I won't do that. I don't want to use the book beforehand, because then you can get the binding all messed up and it won't be fresh for people who want the book. So I got 5 copies of my book. I say that again, I got 5 copies of my book, and yeah, it's just quite nice having the book in person. It's just cool. I like it. It makes me happy. I was already happy having the book on the Amazon store. That was already pretty cool, but having the book in person, and then there's a picture of me in the back, and I look happy like this. Obviously with this exact face. Take away the cheese. Yeah. So I'm Peter, by the way. If you haven't surmised, deduced. Yep. And I've got an action-packed day. Obviously, I have to read my book. Or I want to watch Netflix. No, I've got to sit down and read my book. Even though I've read it before. I don't know. It's good to read. Maybe I won't go from front to back. Just like I don't. I had all these ideas. I was going to write a very long book, and then I'll sort out the paragraphs later. But I just thought short and sweet, and just leave it as it is. So it doesn't need chapters. It's already a short book, and yeah, it's probably the best way, and it's less daunting. As much as I obviously hold the Bible close to my heart, leaving it dusty, covered in books full of dust. Dustiest part of my room. Obviously, I care for the Bible deeply, covered in dust. Yeah. So sarcasm, irony. I don't know. Yeah, obviously, yeah. The book is just the Bible, not the book. The Holy Bible is just big. I'm saying Holy Bible because it says it on the front over there, but it's just very big, it's daunting. It's just a bit too. It's just very long. I suppose it's great for churches because they can spend their whole life just studying it. But it's just like it's very big, very long, very big book. Doesn't say God on the front. Mine does. It says God in the book, which is I suppose something. But we're not comparing them. We're not saying mine has advantages. We're not saying mine has a nice cover on the front. We're not saying that mine has a 21st century application to it and it's a current book. We're not saying that mine's better in any way. We're just saying that that mine's shorter, so it is just more approachable. People not into books can sit down and more or less read it. In this age of Netflix and short attention spans, somebody can sit down for a couple of hours or 4 hours, whatever it takes to read the book, and you can just read it. It's cool. I like it. I did buy a load of books that I was meant to read, but podcasting, I don't know. Just the time goes. I noticed that the day goes by quite quickly. I've had days go by slowly. I'd probably like them to go quicker, or no, going quickly is quite cool. But then it's just the fact that you have to fall asleep again. It just feels like starting from scratch because the world revolves around sleep, and yeah, it's just. Because you need good night's sleep to be able to write books and stuff. So I just wrote my book and sleeping and stuff. Am I going to mention it again? I'll mention it again. An Unbelievable God by Peter Newing. Newing. Yeah, I'll mention it again as the outro, living up to my name here. It's just what is there? What is there in life more than the book? I don't know. I don't care. It's just great. It's a physical copy. I'm gonna read it. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. What about I've got fun fact. I think the only paragraph in my book that doesn't mention God is about how money's bad, but to make up for it, it's got Bible quote. So there you go. Yeah, I didn't put many Bible quotes in my book, maybe 3 or 4. Just a healthy amount. Just makes it all seem a little bit official, if there's a, and please see this chapter, on the Bible quote and stuff. Yeah, what will I go? It's just me talking in my room at this stage. Will it ever get to another stage? Probably not. Some people make me feel clever. School made me feel clever, and I don't know if it's just like, a bit, I don't know, not very healthy for me, just making me feel clever all the time. I just feel like a dum-dum. I don't know. At work, I felt like a dum-dum. That's because I was a dum-dum. And because you need practice to learn stuff, and I just didn't have motivation to learn stuff. Yep, I got by. Got by is worth it. It's worth it. Having the time off work and putting my time into other mediums, and obviously writing books and stuff. A day will not go by now. Probably every day for the next 10 years I'll think about my book that I didn't put much effort into. Never mind, we'll stop whispering. I did put effort into it. Hours. Hours. Research. It's funny, my older brother was like, "Oh, you're going to put some research?" I was like, "I'm writing a book. Like, are you going to research?" Like, no. This is the extent of my book. I got a fact in there. It's not got a reference. I didn't cross-check it on the internet, which isn't even that reliable. I didn't research around the subject or anything. I literally heard someone say the fact on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I wrote it down. It's a percentage. It's a round figure. 25%. The real fact could be 23%, and it could be wrong, as some facts are, but it's in my book. Anyway, the Bible quotes sound messed up, so, and I've put the version NIV, so, yep. It's funny, like, the Bible quotes. I just, had a point, and then I, Googled it, confirmation bias, Googled my point, and got a Bible quote to support it. But then, not everything is in the Bible. Islam and stuff. Just religion's such a universal thing. Just everywhere in the world, I genuinely think that the people praying to Allah in Islam, and even though Christians won't think, I think they're doing the same thing as we are, to be honest. I think somebody who prays to, I think there's a God. I think it's just more of the. I just think it's the same thing, really. And the fact that Jesus is a prophet, it's just in the Quran, and it's just like a technicality thing, Maybe one of them's, right in some ways, but also wrong. But the fact that they all originate from Abraham, the same person with the same God, it's just more of the same, really. And the fact, I just think religion is just a universal concept, something intrinsic to the planet and being human. So Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell, they were talking about how we might not need to travel interstellar space to see the aliens. We might be able to just go into the spiritual world, like DMT, and access higher dimensions internally, and that might be the truth to it all. I think there is some sense in that. I from personal experience, think that there's definitely something deeper to it all. Obviously in my case, probably the best thing about writing a book about God is that I wasn't sure there was a God beforehand, and now I am sure that there's a God. Obviously other things happen, but that's probably a valuable thing, if God exists and stuff. Just probably for my own personal. I'm on my journey. Like, obviously, I'm not as established on my journey as somebody who's a Christian for 30 years, because that's obviously the metric to life, is how many days since being dipped underwater by somebody else that was dipped underwater, i.e. baptism. It's just the dogmatic nature of it all. It's just bizarre. Don't like it. I mentioned that in my book page, something. People will be quoting my book. Of course they will be. It's just, I'll get tired of the word book, and I'll just be saying artwork or portfolio or document. You know, these words will sort of slip in throughout the. This is obviously a podcast, but this will be, as like my book will be other words. This will be a forum of ideas. It will be a discussion, a debate, a safe space, a philosophical tree of nesting for young birds. That's the real beauty in this book, podcast, life of mine. At least I've got a life, at least I've got something to be excited about. Wrote a book and published it, that's something excited about. And then like every day the prospect of someone buying it. It's obviously hard to get the ball rolling, as I keep on saying. Like with people buying stuff, and that's like the idea that the ball can get rolling and it just grows easily, but sometimes it just seems impossible to get any sort of views or people buying the book. But there's hope. You keep talking in your room, you keep following people on Twitter, and one day things will coincide together and complete each other. That's the idea. What am I talking about? I don't know. Right. So it's just a case of living my life now that I've accomplished all my dreams. I go through phases of stuff. At one stage I'll want to be on Joe Rogan's podcast really badly. I still want that to happen, but right now I just want a wife. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking so. Maybe I should start off with a friend that's female. Maybe we should go with step by step here, but a wife that loves me. Hume loves me. I don't know. They're putting it shoving it on the end of who. I don't. It's never Doctor Whom. It's Doctor Who. Who, this, that, what. Words. Whom. Something that I'll obviously master in my 30s. Silly words like that. So, it says on my whiteboard, write 1,000 words a day for 10 weeks. I did it for 4 weeks and printed it out. Got my leaflet. Everything's all sorted. Apart from whether God exists. Now I'm sure of that now. God definitely exists. That's something you can be sure about. Definitely. Looking at a camera is so weird. I don't know how people do it. It's tough. It's a skill of YouTube. Casey Neistat figured it out. He just wears sunglasses so you can look at the screen. Because looking at the camera is a pain. It's so unnatural. I can't look at people's eyes, to be fair. So probably doing better with the camera, and I'm looking at it 10% of the time. Yeah. I do well in interviews. I don't know how. Just gotta, fast thinking, on the spot. I can say stuff. Yep. Do well in interviews. That's good for the future, I suppose. Just this girl on Tinder, I couldn't cope. Just give me advice. I'll give you some advice in interviews if you want. Oh yeah, I've got a job with you. I don't know. Some people just confuse me. Let's say. That's what I've given up on Tinder. I just don't think Tinder is wife material. I just think you just meet them in person, get to know them. Because I don't think you necessarily gravitate to the person that you fall in love with the first conversation. It might take a couple of weeks, couple of months, 10 years. You could be school friends and then you could learn to love someone. Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, you don't really know. So I think a more natural approach, having meeting people in person. I've got to try and do that. We'll figure things out. I'll Zoom, my wife. Yeah, coronavirus. We'll just be inside, and I'll just Zoom my future wife. I'll get her contact details. I'll ring up my assistant. What's my future wife's contact details? I know her. Do you want her mobile? Do you want her? Just hook us up on Zoom, and we'll just talk on Zoom, and then we'll get married. When things open up again. When the weddings are allowed. So what are we thinking? 6 months, a year? Yeah, we'll get a wife. Yeah. Life such as life. We'll get a wife. I am young. I am at the stage that if I got married in a couple of years, I'd be young to get married. I'd be 24. So when you start realising that if you got married, you wouldn't be a young couple, that must be depressing. And then when you realise that you have to marry 10 years younger than yourself in order for them to be the right age to give birth, that must be depressing. And then when you realise you're female and you're 50 and you can't give birth and you don't have children, that must be oddly depressing. Or maybe you just like life. I don't know. I probably do know, but I just say I don't. I don't. Oh well. What I just did made a noise. So we talked about the book. We talked about how everyone should do their own podcast and just talk about what's on their mind. And one day I hopefully get some interesting life stories that I can talk about. But till then, 200 episodes every day. That's obviously what's going to happen. Yeah. So I'll just keep this short and sweet, I suppose. They're all roughly the same length, but some are 2 minutes longer. We get into a routine, get into a habit, throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. Right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. For people out there, there's my book. Gonna get it in focus. An Unbelievable God. Peter Newing. Buy it on Amazon. £5 or the £1 Kindle version. Peter Newing. Does God exist? Probably yes. And it's a real book and it's got text inside. There we are. Upside down so you can't read it. Text with the page numbers on the right parts of the page. Anyway, just saying my publishing abilities are top notch. And it's got a barcode. There we are. So we'll get in focus. Yeah, we are. Okay. An Unbelievable God book. That'll be a new feature of every episode now. Get the book. Small channel. Support this channel. Yeah, support the channel. An unbelievable club. Right, Peter Newing. Newing. So, Instagram. I have this picture on Instagram. I take photos. Instagram at Peter Newing. Twitter at the Pete Repeater. The book, An Unbelievable God. My name, Peter Newing. Newing. Thank you for watching. The Peter Repeater. I'll be here tomorrow, hopefully, with something to talk about. Probably not. Bye for now.